Hello and welcome. There was a comment on one of my recent videos which alluded to the fact that I haven't made a carrier video recently. I saw it and thought, you know what? You're right. And here I am in the tier 7 Japanese aircraft carrier, the Kaga. She is a very powerful carrier for tier 7. Her main downside is the fact that Saipan exists, which is her natural counter. But Kaga herself is a very powerful carrier because she is able to deal a very large amount of damage in a single strike. I start out by scouting the A-cap with one of my fighters. The second fighter will go more or less towards the middle, and then I will decide what I do with my torpedo bombers. Right now, I was thinking of going to the left side at first, but seeing many cruisers there, but the fact that there are ships sailing away, I'm gonna go and try to strike on the right side instead, because it'll be a better strike. This fighter will be used to spot this Kitakaze, although it will be rather dangerous and I'm probably going to lose a bunch of fighters for it. I will be able to at least ward her off from the cap zone, which already happened, so I can probably pull back and deal with the enemy Kaga's fighters. And I will have to do that to be able to set up my strike on the decap, or somewhere around there, hopefully on a battleship, because I'll be able to deal more damage to them. It seems we are going to do the fighter dance here, for a little bit at least. Okay, I'm not going to try to strafe. Oh, and she engages. Well, in that case I'm going to engage as well, and now I'm going to try to strafe and then strafe out. Hopefully it'll work. And yeah, it worked just fine. Excellent, which means that I am dealing with a not very strong carrier player, so this should be a fairly easy, or at least manageable game for me. Now, it could have been possible that when I exited the strafe with my number 3 squadron, that the enemy carrier would have strafed right, you know, to chase. In that case, I would have been kind of screwed in this match, not because of that specific engagement, but because I would have, have to deal with a very strong carrier player, which probably wouldn't have ended very well for me. Anyways, we finished the fight over there, so I'm going to try to strafe the planes, but the planes are AFK, so they AFK dodge my strafe because my strafe was misplaced, but this time I will be able to catch the fighters and deal some damage. Meanwhile, I will be setting up my torpedo bomber strike. I am eyeing the Gneisenau right now because she is a battleship, she is sailing broadside, and it should be something I can do. Well, the ammunition on my fighter is out, so I'm gonna pull them back, but the enemy carrier engaged, so I'm going to lose that squadron, or perhaps not lose. I might lose a plane though. I haven't played Kaga in a long time, and I know I need to drop further away than I'm used to, so I'm gonna try something like this, and it seems it worked quite nicely. Good night, Gneisenau. And this is what I meant earlier when I said that Kaga has a very strong amount of alpha strike damage. She is very powerful in this aspect, and it's a real pain to play against her because of that, especially if you're a battleship, because even if you can avoid most of it, it can be quite a problem. Although, let's be fair, this Gneisenau had absolutely no reaction to my drop, so she kind of deserves it. In other news, by the way, Wargaming is thinking of getting rid of odd-tiered carriers, so we will only have tier 4, 6, 8 and 10 tier carriers. There won't be 5, 7 and 9. From what I understand, Wargaming plans on moving the current odd-tiered carriers around and changing them to work in a different manner, make them support carriers and all those other things. Look, this is the strafe I was talking about. Basically, I just strafed him behind, so he just lost his entire squadron. So Wargaming's plan is to get rid of odd-tiered carriers with the carrier rework, because they say that it'll improve matchmaking, because right now there are 7 different tiers of carriers, and if there are 20 carrier players playing right now, they are in all those 7 different matchmaking categories. But if we get rid of them, You know, we will only have 4 of them, so it would lead to more balanced matches and it would lead to faster matchmaking, which is a good thing, I think. And I don't really see much of a problem as long as the carriers themselves remain in the game. And, you know, considering Wargaming spent a lot of time and money modeling the ships, I find it quite unlikely that they will remove the ships without changing them in some way. So basically we'll probably get 2 carrier lines, which I think is going to be a fairly good thing, because it'll simply give more choice, even if that choice is in one line. Although there have been some jokes that the only reason Wargaming is doing this is because they have trouble coming up with 7 different carriers for the Soviet carrier line. And 4 will be easier. You know, while it might be a joke, I think it's a good thing if it gives us more carriers. Although, provided of course that carriers themselves end up being fun to play. From what I've seen in the carrier rework so far, I don't really have that many problems with it. I mean, there are many things that need to be improved and I think will be improved. But overall, as a concept, I think it's quite okay and it's quite alright. Next target to strike is going to be the Friedrich der Grosse. I don't think I will be able to one-shot this one. Okay, this time I tried strafing again, but I got a bit too late, so I just strafed empty air mostly. Which is a bit sad, but I guess it's okay, as long as I can get my Friedrich der Grosse drop in. I even spent a lot of HP on those fighters, or, you know, fighter planes, I suppose, because we don't really deal with HP. Thinking, can I strafe this? If I can, that would be rather useful. See, Friedrich still had like half HP left, although I think I could have aimed my drop slightly better. But at the same time I did take out 4 enemy fighters, probably going to take out the 5th, so I should have a fair advantage in fighters. And that should be something that carries over the rest of the game. Because I don't really see how the enemy carrier should be able to come back with the fighter play, since I should have more replacements. But just in case, I will send back both of my fighters and just try to sail away myself so I don't accidentally get caught and sunk. Because while we do have an advantage, it's 6 versus 5. You know, this can change rather quickly. I'm going to do an automatic drop because the drop pattern is slightly larger and the manual drop is a bit too small, and it's kind of difficult to get more than 1 fire with that. With this it's likely, but with only 3... Wow! Only 3 dive bombers dropped and only 2 actually hit, and I still got 2 fires. That went much better than expected. So these 2 fires should tick for quite a while. And I will have another torpedo bomber drop coming up at some point soon. I think I'll go for either the Iowa or the Bismarck. You know, the enemy ships are spread out enough that I can pick and choose basically any target at this point. But it seems we are winning the game fairly handily, and at this point it's just trying to farm the most amount of damage, because the game has mostly been won. Yeah, I think that Iowa will be a good target, because the Bismarck is going to take damage from my allies anyway. Iowa might not be, so we'll be dealing with different targets. And that will, like, you know, make the game last as long as possible. The enemy carrier has run out of fighters, as we can see, I think at least. So if I can get rid of these, he shouldn't have any fighters left anymore, and I think this should actually deal. No! Still has 1 plane. But the next priority is this torpedo bomber, which I'm going to just start strafing early, so he can't interrupt me. And it got a nice hit on the torpedo bombers. And now I'll just try to do another strafe, while I position my torpedo bombers to go for the Iowa strike. And these should be the last 2 enemy torpedo bombers. Oh, my second squad is actually completely empty. You know what? I'm just going to strafe through all of these at the same time. I'll take out the torpedo bombers and the fighter and the enemy torpedo, you know. I took out all the enemy planes. Despite the fact that I lost some of my own, I did take out 7 planes, so I think that was a good trade. And this strafe should get some too. Excellent. And it is the enemy carrier calling me a cheater, most likely. Alright then, but I think it's quite okay because I'm winning the game. So you can call me whatever names you want to call me. Okay, I hope this drop was decent. I'd like to deal a lot of damage, please. Okay, yep, I hit all of the torpedoes. Very nice. Very, very nice. Although a bunch of my planes got shot down before I could drop, but still, I managed to hit all of the torpedoes. That was a very, very, very good drop. And there's the Kaga and Leningrad. I guess I'm just going to spot the Leningrad for my team so they can do their thing. And yeah, at this point, it's just time to close out the game. I can't really see how we're going to lose this, because we have the point caps advantage, and we have a serious carrier advantage now, because the enemy doesn't have any fighters, meaning that I can do whatever I want with his planes. And because of that, it'll become very, very difficult for the enemy team to do much. You know, because I can just perma-spot the Leningrad, there's nothing the Kaga can do because she doesn't have any fighters, and there's nothing the Leningrad can do either. This is actually one of the reasons why I think a carrier rework is good, because that'll avoid scenarios like this one, because you will be constantly trying to drop on things. Although dropping on things will keep destroyers spotted for a longer time maybe than necessary, but at least it won't be like right now where I'm waiting for other planes, and meanwhile my fighters are simply perma-spotting her. But it seems once this Kaga goes down, the game ends. And boom. Good game though. Might not have been the most interesting in terms of to watch, but 173k damage. I would say that's a very good result in the Kaga, especially considering I shot down 45 planes on top of that. I did only sink 1 ship, but that's okay. I'm happy with it. Got a high caliber and a devastating strike. 2013 base XP, and honestly this game shows one of the biggest reasons why the carrier rework is necessary. The enemy Kaga got completely outplayed in terms of fighters, which enabled me to prevent his drops as well, and because of this type of outskilling, the Leningrad, despite playing really, really, really well on the enemy team, he still lost because his carrier just wasn't as good as I was. And this is why carriers kinda do need a rework. And the carrier rework addresses this problem rather well, which I guess I should talk about another time, because this time I have footage of it. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to thank the Patreons on Patreon. Thank you very much for your continued support, Leops, and I hope I'll see you guys next time.